Bonjour à toutes, bonjour à tous, je suis Yana et c'est Primelang. Hi everyone, I'm Yana and this is Primelang. Aujourd'hui, on va parler du premier groupe des verbes français. Today we're going to take a look at the first group of French verbs. But before we actually do that, let me give you a brief overview of French verbs. So all of them can be divided into three groups according to their conjugation pattern. The first and the second groups shouldn't be very challenging because they have a very strict pattern, or they have two strict patterns, and once you've learned them, you'll feel fairly comfortable. However, the third group can be a bit more challenging because there are a few subgroups that have their own patterns, then there are some verbs that have separate patterns, and so they must be memorized. You could probably call them irregular verbs. And we've actually covered two such verbs. One is être and the other is avoir. And I'm sure you remember that they have very specific conjugation patterns. You know, they're very different and they are nothing alike if you try to compare them. So back to the first group. The first group is considered the most numerous. It has the greatest number of verbs. And so that's actually good news. Let's see how these verbs are conjugated. In the infinitive form, all these verbs have the ending er. However, there are two exceptions to this rule. One is aller, to go, and the other is envoyer, to send. But we're not going to cover the exceptions today. We'll look at them some other time. So, here, as an example, I use the verb chercher. Chercher, to look for something or to search. What we need to do in order to understand the conjugation is to take out the ending er. And so we have the root cherche, right? And what we'll be doing is adding the necessary ending according to the form. Je cherche. The ending here is e, which is not pronounced, of course, you remember that. Also, I underlined the endings for your convenience so that you could pay closer attention to them. Let's go on. Tu cherches. Again, the ending changes, es. Il, elle, on cherche. And we go back to the ending e. Now, something is changing. Yeah, so far, so good. But now there is a slight change. Nous cherchons. The ending is ONS. Vous cherchez and ils, elles cherchent. The ending is ENT. So the pronunciation is in the singular forms. It sounds all the same. And in the third person plural, it sounds the same as in the singular. So it is important to remember, how these endings, how these endings are spelled, so that you could write them correctly and not make the mistake. Okay. Well, that's it with the endings. However, there's one other thing that you need to remember about the spelling of these verbs. I've used another example. Here it's the verb préférer, which I'm sure you know, it's prefer. And I did not underline the endings here because there's no change there. But I underlined something else. I underlined E, accent aigu, the one in the middle, after the letter F. Préférer. You must know that this letter can never be stressed if it's in the middle of a word. It can be stressed only if the word ends in this letter. So here it's not stressed, we're fine, préférer. And now you'll understand why I said it. Because when we start to conjugate, the stress shifts and we start to say je préfère. Je préfère. But we did not, like I said earlier, just now I said that we cannot stress the E accent aigu. And so we don't, because there is no E accent aigu. There is E accent grave. And I underlined it as well. And of course, it's also very important to pay attention to the pronunciation, because the E accent aigu is the E sound, préférer. But the E accent grave is E. Je préfère. and it's very important to keep that in mind. So, je préfère, E accent aigu, accent grave, pardon. Tu préfères, again. Il et on préfère, again. But now we go back to nous, and it's nous préférons. The stress shifts again to the ending, yes, to the last syllable, the way it was in the infinitive form. And so there's no more need to use E accent grave, because E accent grave cannot be unstressed, right? So we change it back to the E accent aigu. Préférons. Vous préférez, again. And then ils, elles préfèrent. We go back again to the E accent grave. The good news is that there aren't many such verbs, and yet, particularly this verb préférer, I'm sure you'll encounter that in many situations, so I thought it was a good idea to take a look at the spelling. Well, that's it with the conjugation, with the grammar. Now I think it's a good idea to learn a few useful verbs, belonging to the first group. Parler. I'm sure you know this one. It's speak or talk. Aimer, love, like. Regarder, to look or to watch. Jouer, to play. Écouter, to listen. Trouver, to find. Well, one of the first things that you can do to practice conjugating this verb is, you can just take one and conjugate it yourself. And now we could proceed to an exercise that I prepared for you. Here there are a few sentences with the infinitive form in brackets. So your job is to put in the right form. Let's start. Je ne trouvais pas mes lunettes. Je ne trouve pas mes lunettes. Trouve is our ending E because it's first person singular. I can't find my glasses. The next one. Nous jouons au football tous les week-ends. Nous jouons au football tous les week-ends. ONS is our ending. We play football every weekend. The next one. Il ne regardait pas la télé. Il ne regarde pas la télé. He doesn't watch TV. Our ending is E, right? Est-ce que tu écoutais la musique classique? Est-ce que tu écoutes la musique classique? Écoute, ES is our ending. Do you listen to classical music? Ma copine parlait quelques langues étrangères. Ma copine parle quelques langues étrangères. My girlfriend speaks several foreign languages. Parle is our is the ending E. Elles aimaient le chocolat. Elles aiment le chocolat. They, girls, like chocolate. Yes, ENT is our ending, and of course we remember that it's not pronounced. And qu'est-ce que vous préférez, thé ou café? Qu'est-ce que vous préférez, thé ou café? See, the sound, if you're just listening to this video, it sounds the same, but the spelling is different. In the infinitive is ER, but in the vous form it's EZ. So, what do you prefer, tea or coffee? Well, I hope this video has been helpful and now you feel comfortable with the verbs of the first group. If you still have some questions, please be sure to send me a comment or to get in touch with us in any way you'd like. And of course, remember to give me the thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Salut!